Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another episode here on Mama Untold Thoughts. I have with me Seema. Hey there, hey there. I was gonna say hi there.
Perfect. Perfect. However you like.
We just spoke about this. I'm so I apologize for not.
That's okay. No, no.
Seema is from Ottawa. She is an amazing, oh my gosh, the name just slipped me too, professional makeup artist.
Yeah.
And she has been in this industry for so long here in Ottawa and the community and served so many clients here in Ottawa, but also very much
Abroad as well. Yeah. All
right
over.
all over. So thanks so much for joining me today, Seema, and I'm so honored to have you here and for you taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored that you actually chose me for this. I think it's really amazing what you're doing. So I wish you the best with everything because I think it's going to go far.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Fun fact, Seema and I think we've only, worked together just on like little projects here and there or bumping into each
Mhm.
other at like community events and whatnot. And that was one thing I was telling Seema before we started recording was I've known many people in the Ottawa community in their professional and career, capacity, but haven't really had an opportunity to sit down with them and talk about, parenthood and how they've navigated parenthood. And I think that's such a big component because it plays into our lives and our professions and our careers. So I thought it was really fitting to have this conversation with you. So let's dive right into it. Seema, you're a mom to four.
I am. When I
uh,
hear it out loud, I'm like, whoa.
I know. It's like, but it's powerful, you're managing this amazing career and you're raising, four little humans. How has motherhood been? How has your journey been?
It's been amazing, definitely amazing. It's been something that's taught me more about myself than anything else, I think. It really puts a mirror in front of you and makes you reflect on every aspect of your life and deal with your own crap, let's say, because before you can advise your child, you have to check in with yourself and see what your actual opinion is on stuff. So it's an amazing journey and we're still on it. So it's amazing.
And you've got, is it three boys, one girl, or
Yes. So my oldest is my daughter and she's now starting university. So
what?
that's a whole other ball game. Yeah. She's
No,
18. Yeah.
my goodness. Oh my
Yeah. So she's just started university actually yesterday.
God.
And it's all being done remotely because things are just nuts, right? So yeah, she's 18 and then I'm almost 16-year-old, 13-year-old, and an almost 10-year-old boy. So three boys, and that gets a little rowdy. But thankfully, they're very well behaved, knock on wood. So let's see how things go as they get older. But we've got three teens, one, I guess, young adult, and one that's about to hit double digits. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
I don't know why I still feel like your kids are super little and like when you
Yeah,
just
in my head too.
like, no university that can't
Yeah,
be.
it's crazy when it hasn't really registered that she's in university because she's talking to me about her courses and I'm like advising her and stuff. And then I'm like, holy crap, though, wait, this is my own kid. It's not a random girl I'm giving advice to. So yeah, it's crazy when I think about it. Yeah. Or even hearing the fact that I have four is really bizarre. Because
Yes.
when you're in the day and the minutia of everything, you're just in it, right? But when you sit down and think about it, it's like, whoa.
Oh, it's like, yeah, when you're like self-reflecting, it's like, wow, like
Yeah. And you know what? With four kids, there's not a lot of time to self-reflect. Let's say that.
valid point. How do you do it? So I'm always in awe of mothers and women who are, maintaining and basically taking their careers to such high levels, but also holding down a fort at home and being a caregiver
Uh,
24/7 to
yeah.
the four kids. How do you do it all?
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. And it's not just the four kids, actually. My mom and dad lived with us as well. My dad has since passed. But now my mom's like she's aging, her health is declining. So I'm also taking care of her. So that's there's a lot on the plate for sure. And then also running the business, which during the pandemic has been basically at a standstill when it comes to taking in clients, because as you know, with makeup artistry, we're up in people's faces and stuff. And with like with my mom's health and my youngest son's health issues that we'll probably be talking about, it's been very difficult to you know, be up in people's faces and not be worried about the effects of it coming home, you know. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly to answer your question how I've managed. It's kind of, I'm a day-to-day type of person. So just each day, if they're alive at the end of the day, it's a good day. You know,
I
everyone's been fed. They're all in bed, you know. We're good.
good. I feel you. It's true.
Yeah.
I kind of, people tend to ask me that too, and I'm just like, I'm not even sure. Like, and
Oh,
that's one thing I realized through speaking with other parents, because I always used to ask them, like, what's the secret ingredient? How is it that we manage like so many different
yeah,
things a day? But the reality is, we do it. We just do it,
that's it.
and
Exactly.
yes, it's tiring, and yes, it's emotionally draining most days. And at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but I try to do a lot of work after the kids are in bed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like there's never that moment of just like pause, but it's also like we have these ambitions to do more in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're mothers, but also we have like aspirations and dreams and ambitions as well. And so I always kind of like when people ask me, I'm just like, I don't know, it just kind of happens. Like everything just kind of like
Yeah.
gets
But I guess, yeah, you're right. Like it does just kind of happen, but I think I'm the same way. So I'm pretty much have turned into a night owl. I don't think I was,
yeah.
but I've had to become a night owl. And it's literally put them to bed, or well, now that I don't need to put them to bed, but you know, when they're asleep and I have a moment, basically, that's when I'm, you know, replying to emails and getting the next thing ready or whatever it is. But when you're in it, you're really not thinking, you're just kind of on autopilot a lot. You know, you have to get the next task done.
Yeah.
And like right now, when you just said, oh, you have four kids, and we're like shocked by their ages and stuff, that's when you're like, wait, how do I do this?
I know.
Yeah, because when I try to tell other people about it, it's exactly the same thing. I'm just like, I'm not really sure. We just get through it day by day.
We just
So
get
I
by,
don't think, yeah.
do what we
And I
need.
think, yeah. And I think it's, you know, it's those moments of quiet. That's when you can kind of pause and be like, okay, take a deep breath. Next, what's next? I
Exactly.
think that's the secret, you know, just give yourself a minute every here and there. If you can take 5 minutes in the bathroom if you have to, then that's what you do.
My new hiding spot has been, because now the kids,
That's it.
my toddler, she finds me in the bathroom, but my new
Oh,
hiding
yeah.
spot has been the closet, the just closet.
You know what? When mine were younger, I would see fingers under the door. Like, mommy, are
Yeah,
you there?
why not just use the washroom in peace? Precious moments though, right? Like they're all
Yeah, they really are.
precious moments, and moments that we like look back on, and now we can laugh about it, but of course,
At the moment, though, when it's happening, you're just like, oh, please.
I know, just give me that 1 minute to just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned your health, sorry, your son's health issues that you've had to deal with, and I want to talk a little bit about that, because one thing
Yeah.
that I want to mention during this conversation is that September is Child Cancer Awareness Month, and
Childhood, yeah.
child,
Childhood cancer awareness.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I wanted to also have this conversation to speak about your experience with your son and how your family has coped with it, continues to cope with it, and just hear from a mother's perspective, and that too from a South Asian mom, because
Yeah.
I think in the South Asian community, again, that we don't talk enough about some of the struggles and challenges that we face. And I think this is an important topic that needs to be
Yeah.
spoken about, because you never know what other family might be facing this and might find some hope or inspiration from your story. So please
Yeah.
feel free to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. It's very important. And I think it's kind of a taboo subject as well. People are just like, when they hear about it, they're like, oh, and everybody just catches their breath a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely important to talk about. So I'll kind of start from the beginning. My son, who is now turning 10 in December, he was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 3. So back in 2014. We actually had health issues with him for an entire summer, and I was going back and forth to the doctor repeatedly, not getting any answers, which was really, really challenging, because as a mom, you just have that feeling that something's not right. So that's basically what was happening. He just, his health was declining. He wasn't sleeping well. He would have like low grade fever that was unexplained. I would take him to the doctor, and they would prescribe an antibiotic or something else, and just be like, oh, he probably picked up a virus. He wasn't in school at the time. And actually, as a result of the diagnosis, didn't end up going to school till much later. But anyways, yeah, he just wasn't doing well. And we went to a family wedding in the States, and during that time, he actually, what we thought was that he had hurt himself, maybe in just the chaos of the wedding or something, or he tripped himself up or something. But he basically refused to put weight on his feet, which was really concerning. And he was also unable to like feel comfortable in his own skin. So he was going through a lot of bone pain, and it was really difficult to like put clothing on him. Like if I would put a shirt over his head, he would scream Bloody Mary as the pressure of the shirt would come down on his head. And it would be like, you would just immediately be like, oh, I thought I just broke his bone or something happened. And now all I'm doing is putting a shirt on him. But yeah, he was in a lot of pain, and he was becoming paler by the day. He was getting more yellow. So again, I just kept going back. The funny thing was, I don't know, like our medical system is amazing when it's amazing, but when it's not, it really gives you a lot of pause and makes you wonder what's going on, because all it took was a blood test, and nobody chose to do the blood test the entire summer. So by the time I actually, thanks to somebody in the community who I consider a friend of mine, she happened to be visiting. Actually, she was a client of mine as well. So she was visiting as a client, hadn't seen her in a long time. And she was about to have a baby. So she told me about a pediatrician that she had checked in with and was planning on using for her new baby. And she said, why don't you check with this doctor and see if she can maybe help you? So long story short, I basically within 24 hours contacted that doctor. And on a side note, that same day that I met my friend, I had had a dream, which is very strange, but I had had a dream of a friend of my husband and mine who had passed away from cancer. And he came in my dream, and like some people believe in this kind of stuff and some people don't. Think what you want of it, but anyways, he came in the dream, and he uh, talked about how he hadn't been around for our family, and he hadn't seen the kids grow up. And in the dream, I could see him talking to my older 3, and that they were older in the dream. However, I couldn't, my son Isa, who was the one who was diagnosed, was nowhere in the dream. And you know how when you don't have someone in a dream, but you know that they exist or that they're present, somewhere, there was no sense of presence of him being there. Like he just didn't exist anymore, or he never did, or something. So that was like a huge wake up, because I actually woke up startled from that dream. And I think it was like 4 a.m. And I told my husband that morning that I think Isa's mortality is at risk.
Mm.
And of course, my husband dismissed it, and he was like, "Don't be silly, you're just overreacting as a mom." And I said, "No, there's something serious that's going on." And then that day, my friend showed up as well. And then within 24 hours, like I said, I talked to that doctor, and she, just from hearing the story on the phone, had me come in for an appointment immediately.
Mhm.
And within 24 hours of her meeting Isa, we were at CHIO.
Wow.
And the blood test was done immediately, and we were at CHIO, and our lives just changed that day. So within 48 hours of finally meeting the right person, and I truly believe they were angels that came into our lives to like save him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, sorry.
No, take your time. Take your time, please.
So anyway, once we got to the hospital, they didn't say the words that he had cancer.
Okay.
Um, just immediately tests began. So much blood work, and he's 3,
Yeah.
a little baby. So he didn't understand, we didn't understand, and there were times when you just hold your child down and let them do what they have to do. So they gave us the diagnosis actually a few days later. I'm not sure if that was because they were giving us a chance to digest what's going on, or if the lab was actually closed and they needed to, because it was a long weekend that weekend or something. But basically, they said, yeah, so he does actually have leukemia, and he was diagnosed with, I guess the thing to say is the best version possible of leukemia. So he had pre-BALL, so acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Or yes, that's right. And they said of the diagnoses, this one has the highest healing rate. So, that was something to look forward to, I guess. But at the time, it was just a very devastating blow. And ironically, too, they said that he had about 2 weeks left to live when we were diagnosed. So that was, I think when they said it, it didn't register at all. But they said that had we not come in when we did, he may not have survived, because they were shocked that he was walking and talking. They didn't. They said his blood levels were so low that they were shocked that he could. They said if it was an adult, that they'd be on the floor, passed out, or in a coma. But they couldn't believe that he was doing okay. So, and okay meaning like for a child, that he walked into the hospital. But from that moment on, he never walked again for the next 10 months after that, because once the chemotherapy began, he could no longer, it was so devastating to his nervous system that he wasn't able to put his foot down after that. So, because there's this like tingling and prickling sensation that he just couldn't respond well to that. So there was a bit of atrophy in the muscles and stuff, because he basically was carried from that point on. Actually, he was being carried slightly before that as well, because he was in physical pain. And they told us that the pain that he was feeling when I was trying to put the shirt on him and stuff like that, they said that the white blood cells had been so packed into his bone marrow that his bone was actually causing pressure, outward pressure in his entire system. So they said from the location that they got they did the biopsy from, and they took some bone marrow. They said that it was 97% packed full of white blood cells. So if you can imagine that pushing against the inner walls of the bone, and that would be causing the extreme amount of pain that he was going through. So thankfully, within a few months, they were able to get all that under control, and he wasn't feeling that pain anymore. But then the chemotherapy pain was another whole thing to go through. So with pre-B-ALL leukemia in children specifically, there are two levels of treatment. So for if you're a girl, they treat the girls for 2.5 years
Okay.
on over that span of time, and it is a daily dosing of chemotherapy. And for males, it is 3.5 years. So they do a low, what would be considered a lower dose. However, the dosing ends up being significantly high compared to adults. It's still quite high, but it's done on a everyday basis. So you're giving medication on a daily at home, and then they're also giving it via intravenous. So IV drugs are also given on a weekly, biweekly, or whatever your schedule happens to be. You go back into the hospital at CHIO and they administer it via IV. So they actually give children a port. So they surgically insert an area under the skin that becomes the spot where they will administer the medication. So that way they can avoid giving IVs through the arm constantly for children, because that's a lot for them to take. Not to say that it's less painful, but it's more convenient, let's say. So make it a bit easier for administration of the medication. Thankfully, with his version, he did not need radiation. So we're very blessed that he didn't have to go through that, because that adds a whole other list of issues that can happen. And now we're very grateful that he's doing very well. He was finished with chemotherapy in 2017 and has since been in remission. So he currently is still in remission. And after the 5-year mark of being out of therapy, he will be considered free and clear. So we're getting there.
Oh, Seema, I wish I could. This is where I wish I had these in-person sessions so I could actually.
Yeah, I know. It's very hard to be apart, that's for sure,
It is. It
from
really
human
is.
contact and stuff.
I know, and I just want to say, and I know you don't need to hear this because I know you know it, but your strength and your courage is so. I
Thank you.
admire it so much, and I know it's taken a toll on you and it's taken a toll on your family.
Definitely.
This is not, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not, you don't wish this upon anyone to have to go and see their child, going through this process. But I honestly, like, even just you sharing your story here today, it takes a lot of courage and strength, and it's important that others hear about this. And so, like I said in the beginning, hopefully if there are any other parents going through this, and I just hope that there aren't, but if there is anyone watching, that they see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that there's hope, and that collectively we can get through this if we support parents going through
Yes.
this.
Yeah, I agree. Support is everything. And thank you for saying that I'm strong, but it does take a village to raise a child, and a village to lift you up
Mhm.
when you're going through something like this. So as a unit, as a family unit, our family has been amazing. Having my parents here, as difficult as it was for them to go through, um, we actually had two difficult situations happening at the same time, because my father's health was also declining during the same time. And I think finding out about his grandson going through this, I think hurried the process for him and made it worse.
Yeah.
So at the time, uh, when we were going through it, my father also had to be transferred to a home,
Okay.
and we could no longer. And as a South Asian family, that's something that's just very difficult for us to go through, because we always have this, like, you take care of your own and you don't ever just put them in a home or something like that. But we were told that we had no choice, that it was actually detrimental for his health, that if he stayed home and, unfortunately, if he fell or something like that, it would be very dangerous. So he was transferred to a home, and my mother actually had to go back and forth on a daily basis to about 30 kilometers away to visit him every day, which she did without fail. So we were going through that at the same time. So part of the village was also, going through its own need for support. So that was challenging. And unfortunately for us, Isa's end of treatment was very bittersweet, because on December 11th, Isa finished treatment. And on December 4th, prior to that, my father passed. So it was very, very difficult to feel happy when we were also going through that at the same time. And like, we knew it was coming for my dad, but it was still sudden that it kind of happened the way it did. But I think the funny thing is that we were able to go see my father right before, and I was able to tell him that Isa's treatment was coming to an end. And maybe for him, that was the release, to be able to know that that was okay and he was able to let go. So we were very blessed that we could be together as a family at that time. And, there was no pandemic or anything, so everybody could be physically close, which I feel so, so heartbroken for all the families right now that are going through difficult times and not able to be close with each other. So everything happens for a reason, right? Like, the way things happened, it was definitely hard, but it was a blessing the way it happened. So, yeah, so things, I mean, and then my husband and my children have been phenomenal through the whole experience. We've all had our ups and downs and stuff, but the level of support that my husband, he is the rock in our family. Try not to lose it again.
No, don't even apologize. This is
Yeah.
the truth. Yeah.
And the kids too. They're,
Yeah. No, I can feel that. I can definitely feel that. And see my see it. I mean, I don't know you, but I do know you, and I can see it in your family, and I can see that love and that courage and that strength that comes from your family unit. It's very evident. It's very, very evident.
yeah, that's true.
And you said it right. It takes a village to raise a child, and I hope you did have support from the community as well, and that you did have your people who you could lean on, who helped in just the smallest of gestures too. Right. Sometimes those little what what gives us light when we need it the most.
Yeah.
Um, so
Even the small comments that would be coming in, the little messages and the emails, like, we're thinking about you, we're praying for you guys, all of that, it just makes a huge difference. We knew that the entire community, our family, our friends, they were sending, just rays of light constantly. And that really did, it went through him, it went through us. We could feel it. So it makes a huge difference.
absolutely. And so, I mean, during the chemo process, I imagine, like you had to take a step back with your business, and what was that like? And I know obviously, like, our children come first for anything, regardless of where we're at. But you also had three other children who needed their mom as well. So
Yeah.
how, like, you know if you're comfortable, but I'd love to understand your position during that time, and how you might have felt pulled in so many different directions.
Oh yeah, definitely pulled. It was very challenging. So I'll start with the business side of it. Business wise, I was still in the midst of a busy season. So this is the fall, and I was still very booked. And at the time, I was very focused on being one of the best in Ottawa. So I was trying very hard and
Are the best,
keeping.
just FYI.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Said you are the best, just FYI.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. Um, yeah. So at the time, I was booked every weekend. And of course, this happened, and it happened to be on a weekend that I was booked. And the community, like the artist community, actually stepped up. Amazingly, one of the doctors that was dealing with Isa happened to have a friend who is also in the industry, and she was able to contact her. My sister-in-law, who is a wedding coordinator and decorator herself, also stepped up immediately and said, I will handle, all the stuff and contact who we need to contact. So people definitely came into the picture immediately. They were and my brides, I can't even tell you how amazing these women are, that they were willing to just be like, no, no, you do what you've got to do. We'll be fine. Even though their wedding was coming up, it wasn't just trials or, like we're in the midst of conversations or something. It was their actual weddings, and they were all very open to being transferred over to someone who was equally capable. But that's not an easy thing to do when you've chosen someone as your person. And as a makeup artist, we are the most intimate person in the industry that a bride could be working with. Aside from, you have your wedding coordinator, you have all of these other caterers, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm the person who's right up in that girl's face, so you really want to have an intimate relationship with that person and be comfortable with them. So at a very important time in their lives, they were open to being transferred, and that was amazing. And then when it came to the family, basically, my mom was very um, amazing when it came to taking care of all the other children, because I'm a very hands-on mom, and I've been 24/7 with my kids. So I don't think that, aside from when Isa was born and I had to spend a bit of time in the hospital, I have been away from the kids overnight. So that was the first time I was away from them overnight while I was in the hospital. And I think it ended up being about 5 days because of a C-section. But then this was the first time that I would be away for them for over 2 weeks because we had to stay in the hospital. So with my in-laws and my mom and dad, they were there to step up, because I think Zena, my daughter, was 12 years old at the time, 11 or 12 years old. So she was the oldest, and then progressively younger from there. So it was difficult for them. And then to know, because what happened was they had basically phoned, the doctor had phoned us and said that we had to drop everything we were doing because the blood test had come in. Drop everything you're doing and immediately take your son to the hospital at Chio. And that was all we knew. We didn't know beyond that. And she repeatedly kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to tell you this, but you need to drop everything, stop what you're doing, and get to the hospital. From that moment on, I didn't see my children again for 2.5 weeks. So because we were 100% at the hospital and we would not leave. And this is my husband and myself. So neither one of us came home between that time. I think, if I recall, I think maybe my husband went back occasionally to get us more clothes and stuff, but it would be a very brief kind of check in, check out type of thing at home. And that was it. And my husband was there 24/7 throughout Isa's treatment. He never missed an appointment, never, nothing. He was there. If Isa was throwing up at night, it was either me or him running to the bathroom. It was never like, it was just constant. So I don't know how single moms that are going through something like this, how they handle it. Being a single mom at all, I like more I mean, I praise those women who are doing it, or even those fathers who are doing it, because let's not forget, there's also fathers out there doing it. But to go through something like having a child go through health issues like this, and be alone, I don't know how people do that. I can't understand it. And we saw so many of them at CHIO trying to manage it and are still continuing to manage it now. Um, I don't know how they do it. That level of strength is unreal
Yeah,
to me.
I know. And like you said, you were in that area in the hospital where you were probably surrounded by many patients
Yes.
who were going through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, and you become a family as well. So
Thing.
you get very close with a lot of people. And even if you don't see them on a daily basis, your hearts are connected. There's a string attached through all of them. So it's amazing to see. We watched families fall apart. We watched divorces happening.
Mhm.
We watched single moms, and we didn't have, in our situation, there wasn't any single dads that we knew of, but definitely single moms who were struggling through it and trying to make ends meet at the same time, financially. We were very blessed that even though I had to stop working, I believe I stopped for entire leave for that year, and into the next year a little bit. And then I actually don't remember exactly when I started back to work, but I know for a year I wasn't. And then I think I started to trickle weddings back in a little bit here and there. My husband, though, stopped working the day that Isa was diagnosed. But he works in the government, and thankfully, through a lot of struggle and stuff, with a lot of back and forth with insurance and everything, insurance was very difficult, especially for fathers. I think the insurance company didn't necessarily have the sympathy or the compassion that they needed to have towards this subject. They felt like because mom is handling it, why does dad need time off?
Exactly.
Which is just ridiculous to have that type of attitude. But insurance companies are what they are. So we struggled. I think we had a whole year and a little bit more of no income at all,
Mhm.
and just kind of managing as best as we could. And then slowly things started to improve once the insurance company got on board. But yeah, when it comes to dads, they're just like, oh, in fact, I remember one of them saying, I think this may have been my husband's manager at work or something, but she said, oh, isn't it just like having a newborn baby, having a son that's diagnosed? Can't your wife just handle everything? And then when you get home from work, he can take over?
That
I
is
would take, yeah, I would take 10 newborn babies over what was going on in our house that time.
you can't even compare. That's nothing to. There's no way
There's
to.
no comparison. The lack of compassion that some people have is just, it blows your mind. Like there's people out there who only want the best for you, but then there's other people who don't see past their own financial needs or whatever whatever their thinking is.
It's true. And
But yeah.
just to nowhere is this anywhere compared to what you had to go through, but just we're talking about dads and the lack of understanding and compassion when it comes to dads. I mean,
Yeah.
in our household, I'm currently on maternity leave. I'm on maternity leave until November, but and then of course like pandemic hit, and then my husband's working from home. But the amount of times people within his workplace would say like, oh, because he was like, look, everyone, like I've got two little ones at home, and working from home it is daunting. It takes a toll.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
he would just say, oh, but isn't your wife on mat leave? Like, isn't she like,
Exactly.
like what?
Blows my mind. It blows my mind. I really think, that whole concept of, oh, she just sits on the couch and eats bonbon from like the 1950s or something. I think that that's still somewhere in people's minds, like, oh, it's no big deal to be at home or something. But
And
people
it's
have no idea.
I have no idea, and it's so insulting to make this assumption
Really.
about moms and dads. Like dads are equal parts involved in our children's lives, and if
Yep.
not, they do more in some aspects, and it all balances out. But I mean, you can't just assume that because we are the maternal figures that it's automatically
Your job. Yeah, absolutely.
not
Oh,
a
and I think what happens too is by saying things like that, you're diminishing the roles that each of us play in the lives of our children. Like he literally is the rock, the foundation of our family. So for him, it was necessary for him to be there. And it was necessary for him to hold me up so that I could do my job
exactly.
because I needed his support to know that everything will be okay. And if, I don't know how people can diminish that. Like it's the emotional support, the financial, the physical, everything comes from there. So I don't know. People just don't understand. I don't know if it's because the person who said this didn't have children of her own. I don't even think she had pets or a goldfish, honestly. I was like, I don't think you have a clue when it comes to, taking care of something.
Exactly. That's why I always say, like, even if you can't, understand where a family is coming from, or where a parent is coming from, or anyone really. I think at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's really important to just be kind and show compassion in
Yeah.
regardless of any
Yeah.
situation. Just, if someone is coming to you and openly saying, like, I'm having a tough time at doing this, or I am experiencing this, or I'm dealing with this,
Yeah.
we as human beings, we need to do a better job with understanding and being compassionate.
That's it. Yeah.
So, so it just comes back to humanity, and just, humanity being better at just understanding where people are coming
Yeah,
from.
I think, you're so right because I just feel like people don't put themselves in other people's shoes enough.
I don't.
And if you even if you think that you would handle something better, it doesn't mean that you're better than the other person. It just means that maybe that scenario, you've gone through it or you know what it would be like or something, which would make you think that you would have more compassion towards that subject. But not always. I mean, people just, I don't know what people are thinking.
There, and I hope that things will change maybe after this
I
pandemic.
hope.
So,
Yeah, I really hope so.
but Seema, I also want to know what sort of inspiring words, or words of encouragement could you leave people with who are maybe dealing with something similar right now?
Um, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing for the parents that are going through something like this, really make sure to give yourself a chance to breathe. Make sure that you let yourself feel everything. Don't hold back. Don't try to be the strong person. Let it come through you because everything that we go through is for a reason. I truly believe that. We don't like people used to ask us all the time, like, do you ever just sit there and wonder why us? And my answer to that is, why not us?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like maybe this was a lesson for us. Maybe unfortunately our youngest son had to be the catalyst for that lesson, which I wish that wasn't the case. But there are things that have changed inherently inside all of us as a family that I'm so grateful for. But I think you can't numb yourself to the grief, the pain, the anger, the frustration, everything that you're going to feel. You have to allow yourself to feel it.
Yeah.
And no matter how fragile that would be, you have to,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you have to get to the other side. And once you can get there, you can look back and be like, okay, I learned the lessons. I understand maybe not why it happened, but that it happened and that, um, I'm a better person for it. So definitely. I would say let yourself feel everything and breathe, just breathe.
Mm.
And I think that's all I can really say. Because
Mm.
everything else is great. Like you have your support from your family, or some do and some don't. But at the end of the day, it's you putting your head to that pillow every night, and your thoughts can go in one direction or the other, and you have to keep your thoughts going too far into the dark side. So you do have to let yourself feel it, but then you have to step out of it and move forward, because each step you take forward will get you to the other side. So that's where you got to get.
Yeah. That's cool. Thank you for sharing that. And
Oh, thank
I
you for having me. I
no,
think it's really important.
I I I'm almost at a loss of words because it's just it's so touching to hear your story and your everything that you and your family have gone through, and your little son. Like it's just it breaks my heart, but it's also um, it's just very warming to see that you guys you've kept it together, and I know you've had those moments of probably breakdowns and everything else, but like you just said, if you let yourself feel and you let yourself understand and you let yourself giving yourself grace to that, what you're going through is it's all new, and there's you have to go with it. You have to take those next steps to see what's
Yeah, as ugly as things are when you're going through something like that, there is grace and beauty in breaking down and feeling sorrow and pain and everything. There is beauty in even the ugliest moments. And the best thing is, like, Isa is doing so well now. And I think that is also attributed to the family support. My children, my other children, just have been rallying around him. And it's not to say that they're perfect. They all bicker, they all fight and everything, but there's a lot of love there. And my husband still is just constantly, you know, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? All the time. So it's been amazing. And now Isa's doing so well, in fact, that we actually would like to pay it forward. And he's quite the little artist now, and he's been drawing and doodling and stuff like that. So we decided to sell some of his art, and then the proceeds of which will be going towards cancer programs and cancer research that we benefited from while we were going through everything. So we want to definitely pay it forward and help out those who need it now. So he's been doing great. In fact, he just draws. He's constantly like, I'm like, okay, that's good. We got enough drawings.
yeah.
And he's like, I got a new one. I'm going to put this one up too. So he's really excited, and he feels like a little celebrity. So
I've been seeing that. I've been seeing your posts on Facebook about that, and
yeah.
I want to link all of that to
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
people know where they can go to purchase one. And it's amazing to see how your family is taking this and turning it into a positive and paying it forward moment. I think that's so beautiful as well, because you recognize that there are other families who need those.
Absolutely. There's so much need out there. We need to figure this out. We've got to destroy childhood cancer. It's just something that makes no sense at all. These little babies, when we were in Chio and we were seeing 9-month-old or a 5-month-old coming in with cancer, and we're just blown away. Like, because when you look at diseases and you see cancer, you can attribute it to their lifestyle or something. Diabetes, 2 is because of the way our eating habits are, or something like that, or certain cancers because you've been out in the sun too long, et cetera, et cetera. But something like this, you're like, what? I kept wondering, what did I eat while I was pregnant? What did I do? Did I go out too much? Did I not go out enough? Or just, you can't figure it out. You're like, how could this tiny little baby have something so devastating? It blows my mind. So we have to stop it.
Yeah.
We need to find a cure for sure. And we're going to do everything we can in small ways. Obviously, it's not like we're doing anything big, but you never know. It could turn into something more. So
don't downplay it. Every effort, every piece of, of art that's being created
Yeah.
is, it's helping.
And he does it with his whole heart. He's doing it with his whole heart, with his whole thing. We ask him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he always says, I want to feed children. I want to cook for them, because he has an obsession with cooking. Um, his whole, it was really strange as a baby. Usually you can put cartoons on for kids or Sesame Street or something. No, he wanted cooking shows.
That's so cute.
So he loved watching people stirring in the pot and stuff like that. And so yeah, he's obsessed with cooking. We just recently got his little mini kitchen out of the house because my God, his everything was just overflowing with cooking utensils. But yeah, so he wants to feed children. That's his thing. And he's like, I want to help everybody, and I'm going to buy everybody in the family a Rolls Royce.
Gosh.
Yeah. Each person apparently is going to get a different kind of car. He knows what everybody likes. And
Oh,
then he said that he's going to buy a house for everyone. So,
oh,
I hope God gives him everything to be able to do that.
that melts my heart so much. He's got big dreams, and let those dreams keep going. Let them
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, thank you again so much, Seema. This has been such a pleasure
My pleasure.
to have this chat with you and to hear your story. And like I said, I'm going to be sure that everything is linked so people know where to go to purchase artwork, so that the funds can go to help others.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
And I'd love to have you back again and check in and see
Oh,
how.
I would love to. I would love to. That would be awesome. I'm telling you, what you're doing is great. I think our community definitely it's been something that's been needed for sure.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate
thank you.
it. All the love to you and your family, and we will catch
You
you.
as well. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye.